What's going on, everybody? This is your man Chuck Creekmer, aka Jigsaw, and we have the pleasure of talking to Weldon Angelos. How's it going, my brother?
What's up, man? I'm good.
Good to see you. Now, for those that don't know, recently we saw headlines made when Harry O, the founder of Death Row Records, was released from prison after nearly 30 years, or 30 years or more, right?
About 33 years, yeah.
33 years of incarceration. And Weldon was one of the instrumental people involved in getting him out and getting him a pardon, but not just limited to Harry O, but many others, including himself, I might add. So we're going to chop it up a little bit. And first of all, I want you to just give folks some information on yourself and talk about your roots, particularly in hip hop.
Yeah, I'd say about 1995, I relocated to Los Angeles, wanting to make a career in music. And, I was a big fan of Death Row, Snoop, everyone that came from, that label, and obviously Pac. And in 95, I was in LA trying to make music with some of my friends. And, we bumped into, some of the Dog Pound and later some of the Outlaws, Tupac's Outlaws, and became really close. Me and Daz hit it off really well. Me and Napoleon from the Outlaws, and later Badass became one of my best friends. And, it just took off from there. Next thing you know, I was, in Snoop's house, playing PlayStation with his kids and making records. Dream come true.
Nice. Now, did you get to meet Suge during that time?
No, I never met Suge personally, no.
We used to try to get Suge, and they would say, oh, if you interview this guy, we'll give you Suge. And, Suge never happened. So needless to say, we'd still like to interview Suge. But for people that don't know, a lot of our younger viewers may only have heard, but the 90s was a pretty turbulent time. What was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, the 90s is the best era to me. I think the best music came in the 90s. I'm still, and I went to prison, early 2000, like 2002. And so, that whole time period, I wasn't, listening to the new stuff. We didn't have MP3 players until right before I got out. And so, I got out, out of style. But, so that's still my era. I'm from the 90s and, early 2000s. So.
Yeah, definitely. Now, let's talk a little bit about Harry O, and then we'll get back into some of the music stuff and Snoop as well. The process, how hard was it getting Harry O out? He was considered a drug kingpin early on. There's this infamous picture of him and the gun, and there's an attempted murder charge as well. But obviously, a lot has changed for him in those 33 or so years. How difficult was it?
We had our bumps. It was a difficult case, but he proved himself. The time he was in prison, he accomplished so much. And I think, the White House seen that by looking at his prison record, looking at the things that he can do if he's released. And so I think, we made most of our case off of Harry O, the person, or Michael Harris, the person, and what he can do upon release.
Right. Good to point. Michael Harris. Yes, absolutely. And who else have you either tried to get out or have you gotten out? Have you?
Yeah, I got out. Former Bad Boy Records rapper Loon was one of my biggest wins because he's my brother and he's a good dude, man. And so I worked on his case for 19 months. We tried to get him clemency through President Trump, but COVID hit. The riots, everything just messed up, and so he's sitting in prison with COVID. Just going through the prison system, especially where he was at in Florida. And so I wrote a 36-page motion to the court, and the judge granted it in like 60 days. He was out.
Do you think this is your life purpose?
I think so, and I had an amazing career opportunity, and it was taken from me over a few $100s worth of cannabis. And when I got out, I was like, what do I do? Do I get back in, in music? And, this ended up being my calling. I had an amazing platform and network that was given to me. I had to use it to help other people.
Yeah. Now, after, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it's worth just talking about briefly. After Harry O was released, there was a tweet that went out. It didn't. It was from MC Hammer, but he didn't write the article that he tweeted. But it seemed to suggest that others were involved in the process of getting him out. Can you speak on that, and where was the confusion, or maybe or the disconnect in your messaging versus what they were portraying?
So, you know, Harry O has a lot of supporters. He's had a lot of support over the years. There have been numerous attempts to get him out of jail, either, you know, from the state system. I know Van Jones was heavily involved with that, and I believe, you know, Hammer was as well, and others. And there was also an effort to get him out through compassionate release, which was possible because of a bill we helped pass called the First Step Act. You know, when this case was brought to my attention through, you know, Bo and Hollis and Snoop, you know, there was only a handful of people that knew about this. We were doing this really quietly just because of the kind of case it was. And, you know, that we had access to the White House, and especially Alice Johnson, who basically had, you know, almost veto power over the White House counsel and the DOJ for clemency cases, because President Trump loved Alice. You know, Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump loves Alice. And, you know, we knew that Alice could get this done. And, you know, when I first approached her about the case, she did a thorough review of the case. I didn't even tell her about Snoop Dogg. I was just telling her about the case. And I said, this is an important case to me. Can you look at it? And she reviewed it, and she said, you know, I read this file and it's amazing. He is one of us. He reminds me of myself. And she says, I really want to help this man. And I said, well, someone else wants to speak to you as well. His name's Snoop Dogg. And she was like, oh, really? And so, you know, we set up a call, you know, the next day or a couple days later, and I let Snoop, you know, give his pitch to Alice, because, you know, she's the one that can make this happen. And so we did it really quietly. Alice Johnson took the case to the chief of staff, President Trump's chief of staff. And then at the very end, Ivanka Trump took over, you know, clemencies, because they had a skeleton crew at the White House. Everyone moved on. And Ivanka Trump and Alice, you know, went back and forth multiple times on this case, you know, trying to make sure it happens. And the next day after Harry O was released, Ivanka Trump called me personally to tell me what happened. And she told me that, you know, we did this because this was Alice Johnson's #1 case. And she wasn't taking no for an answer, and that we love Alice Johnson, and we did this for Alice Johnson. You know, when we first brought this to the White House, first, we wanted to check to make sure they didn't already have his file pending. And, you know, when they sent it over there, you know, there was no file pending. I believe his petition was in the office of the pardon attorney, which is just like putting it in a black box where it just sits there. And so, you know, Ivanka and them had never heard of Harry O. And it worked in our favor, because after it came out about Snoop, Ivanka also told me, we had no idea the Snoop connection or anything. You know, we did this for Alice, but we think that Harry O has the opportunity to do a lot of good like you and Alice are doing, and we hope to see him out there doing that.
Nice, nice. Now, you also tried to get Mutulu Shakur out, and it didn't go the same route. What happened with that one?
Yeah, so I was pitching his case, you know, as well. I probably, you know, before Harry O's, and, you know, it was like pretty much, you know, it was a tough one. And obviously because the law enforcement aspect of it. And so, and that happened because of Mutulu Shakur had reached out to me asking for help. And so, yeah, you know, but we were doing some other things. I know he has a big team of people that have been working to get him out for years, and I'm not trying to take credit for that, but I'm going to do whatever I can to help, you know, just to get that through. And so we're hoping that he'll be home soon.
And you've also mentioned in the past that other rap artists have come to you. If you're able to, can you speak to that, and why perhaps are you now the go-to guy to help some of the rappers get their people out of jail, and maybe, you know, deservingly, of course, but get them out?
Right. So, you know, I did some work for Run DMC recently. One of their, you know, former road managers got 5 years on a technical violation. And so they came to me and asked for help. You know, I'm talking to Eric B right now on another case. Also working closely with Ty Dolla $ign. You know, his brother TC has been in prison for 16 years for something he didn't do. And so, you know, we're working hard on these. And I just think, you know, because of my connection to hip hop and my success rate, you know, we've been getting a lot of people out of prison, not just from the hip hop community, but other people as well through my organization.
Why is it so hard for political prisoners to get out?
Yeah, it's tough, just because they're a political prisoner, and so there's a lot of political pressure, going the other way. And so, I think Mutulu will come home, though. He has a very deserving request in the courts, and he's been down way too long for what happened,
Yeah.
and we just got to keep fighting. I think with the new administration, there's going to be some changes. We'll see, but Biden seems like he's really interested in moving our country forward and getting out of that mass incarceration era. And so I'm hopeful that that will happen soon.
Yeah, that's good. What are I was going to ask you later on, but what are your views on Biden and Harris at this point? A lot of, there was a lot of controversy with them early on, but now it seems like they are really making bold strides to, at least in the onset, to sort of break down some of the resistance that was there previously.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure for them to really show up. They made a lot of big promises on the campaign trails, and I think the party is going to hold them accountable, and I think we will see the changes that we all deserve.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, you worked earlier with Snoop as in music, and now you've worked with him in this cause. Is there any sort of ambition to maybe get back in the booth with him, or in the studio, or anything like that? Have you guys had those conversations?
No, we haven't yet. And I'm looking forward to go back to LA and seeing everyone in person. Sort of like a victory interview, because I have a documentary coming out. That Hollis and Bo and KG are producing, and Snoop's in there. We got a lot of people. Ti, Harry O, Loon. A lot of people. And so, yeah, we'll see what happens when we get back out there. And so, I'm just so busy right now trying to get people out. I don't do this for pay. I don't get paid. I don't earn a salary. I do this for free because I was there. I served 13 years for weed for small amounts. And so I know what they're going through.
Crazy.
And so, I'm doing this, out of sincerity, not for credit or for donations or anything like that. I'm doing it because, I really believe that those people shouldn't be in prison.
Hey man, you should get paid. I'll just say it. You should get paid, period. Just it's God's work, if you will, or whatever, it's a good cause. So, you don't have to be a martyr. I always say it because, the expectation is that you shouldn't get paid, or you should somehow be just doing this for the greater good. But I think the bad people get paid, so the good people should.
They do. Just the same. So there's a lot of people out there that do this for credit and fame and glory, and we're trying to be different. And so and we have a shelf life. We're like, our mission statement is to put ourselves out of business. So we wanted there not to be a need for organizations like mine. We want to dissolve our organization once we've accomplished our goal. And I do want to note, about the Harry O situation. He has a lot of people out there supporting him, and all that support obviously helped. You know what I'm saying? But to me, I give credit to Alice Johnson. It wouldn't have happened were it not for Alice Johnson, and that's why I went to her. I knew she had that ability, and Alice Johnson made this happen, and just got to give it up to her for doing it.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because Snoop has had so much to say about Trump in the past, and people were somewhat calling him out. So we have this kind of weird duality going on where sort of there's a contingency of people that hate Trump, even politically. They're in the process of impeaching him and really going at him hard. And then on the other side, he's done some good things. Where do you stand on this? Do you ever feel conflicted in any way?
No, for me, I got to work with whoever's in power. And I know for a fact, people in prison aren't saying, I hope Donald Trump doesn't get me out of prison. I hope the Koch brothers aren't going to help me. No, people want to get out no matter who's in power. And so we can't take off 4 years, 8 years, depending on who's in office. We have to work with them. And so, the first thing when I got out, Obama was still in office, and, we got some work done through him. But once Trump came in, we had to establish that rapport so we could get people out, and it worked. And, we got the First Step Act passed, and we got many people clemency. And so, we just got to keep fighting. Whoever's in office, we're willing to work with.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on hip hop now? It's been, I know you've been for a while, but, hip hop has changed dramatically. Do you still love it?
I do. I still love it, but it has changed. I don't even listen to the radio just because the music's changed so much. You know, I just put in my MP3 player and listen to all the old stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
there is some good new stuff out there. I ain't gonna lie, but you know, I'm still listening
yeah,
to the 2004 and down. So you know.
yeah, definitely. Have you ever thought about getting in the cannabis business now that it's so legal almost everywhere?
Absolutely. And one thing that we're doing is we're holding the cannabis industry accountable and making them fund these efforts to get people out who are in there for cannabis related offenses. You know, it's unjust that we have a billionaire, Boris Jordan, but we still got people in prison for doing the exact same thing. I know a guy that got 22 years for operating a state compliant medical dispensary in California. And he's still in prison, you know, serving that sentence. But we got people making millions and billions. I can go out there and make money, but we're still keeping people in prison. And so, you know, we've had conversations with the industry. We're certainly looking how we can get into it from, you know, a social equity perspective, because we want to help other people who have been harmed by cannabis get back in and benefit from this as well. And especially, you know, CBD, because it's legal nationally. There's a lot of opportunity for people like myself and others who have been harmed by the war on drugs and cannabis prohibition in particular.
Yeah. What was going on in your mind when you were in jail for this really minor infraction, and then seeing gradually things starting to change, seeing, this, kind of stewing in, if you will, in jail? Were you just vigorous in trying to get out? Were you angry? Did you ever feel like you lost time? What was kind of going through your mind? 13 years is, what they call football numbers. That's a bit of time.
Yeah, so you know, I have this big gap in memory where you know, I was 23, 24 when I was arrested, and then I get out at 36, and it's like all that gap. My kids have facial hair. They were little when I went in, they were up to my knee. And so it was traumatic. And, you know, just sitting in there, missing everything, watch it. It's like dying with your eyes open because you're seeing the world go on, but it's like you're dead. You're in prison. You know, you're not out there. You're watching everything move on and grow. And so it was very traumatic. And to even make it worse, we're watching states legalize, state after state legalize. And me and the people in there for that, we're like, dude, we're still in here. And these, you know, the elite out there are making millions, you know, off of our suffering. And so it was bad. You know, then when I got out, I got to do something about this, you know, because, you know, I was lucky, and not everyone has, you know, a network of, you know, celebrities and political figures fighting for them. They don't even have family members fighting for them. So, you know, I knew I had to be that voice when I got out.
Oh, so last question. Who are your top 5 dead or alive rappers?
Oh man, Tupac, Jay-Z, Nas, Snoop. Man, there's so I'm trying to think who my 5th was, but definitely Pac and Jay. You know, I put them at the top. And Nas is a favorite. Snoop, obviously, I wanted to get in music because of Snoop. When the Chronic came out, you know, that was the first time I smoked weed, and I was like, man. So that changed everything for me. That's why I felt kind of obligated with Harry O. Like, if it weren't for Harry O, I probably wouldn't have made it in music, because I benefited from Death Row Records. All the people that were signed to them, you know, helped me. And so, you know, that was played a little role in it, as well as the fact that he served his sentence twice. You know, he did all of his time in the state, and it was supposed to be concurrent. He gets out, and the feds are like, no, you got to do your time all over again. And so, you know, those are the factors that played a role in that. But yeah, definitely, you know, those are at least my top 4.
Did you guys get scared towards the end? I know we were kind of biting our fingernails at the end with Harry O, because we had, you know, broke this story essentially, and we're like, where's the release? Where's the White House?
I can explain that. So there was one case in particular that was causing a lot of tension in the White House that Trump was thinking on granting. And so the DOJ lawyers, the White House lawyers started, you know, giving a lot of pushback at the very end. And so there were some people that had their families called and say, you're coming home, go pick your family member up. And they got taken off the list at the last minute. And so I'm telling you, me and Alice for days, I'm talking like the last 4 days, we're pacing our homes. We were talking all day. My feet were sweating. I had to change my socks 3 times, blowing in my palms. I'm pacing. Me and Alice are calling. What's Ivanka saying? What are they saying? We were scared to death because, you know, anything could change at any time. You know, even though they're like, it's happening, until we see that paper, that signed document, anything could change. And so we were scared to death.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My fingernails are literally still gone. If you can see that mess.
Yeah, and not just
Yeah,
for Harry O. You know, there are a few other big cases that were really close,
yeah,
and you know didn't make it. They end up getting pulled back because of there's a lot of pushback. You know, the Department of Justice, you know, usually is the gatekeeper over clemency. President Trump removed them from the process and created an informal committee that Alice is on and a bunch of my friends are on.
mm-hmm.
And so, and you know, I was working with that committee. However, at the end, the DOJ was trying to, you know, have a say in it, and now they're back in the process. And so we need to get Joe Biden to remove them. They shouldn't be able to prosecute us and then decide whether we get mercy.
Right. Wow. Weldon Angelos, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Your commitment is A1. And, you know, just from me, the hip hop community really thanks you. So thanks a lot for being with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.